Greetings, Dungeon Masters. My name is Notataking Pirate, and I am here to go over how I take notes. I've been doing this for about 2 years, and it has been a fantastic system for me that I have slowly workshopped as I've gone. So I wanted to share this with you now that I've gotten it to a point where I feel comfortable sharing it. On the screen, I have drawn some boxes representing a 3x5 card. This is to scale. So you've got your plane side and your line side. We're going to take one of those and we're going to draw on it. This is what it's going to end up looking like. We're going to draw this line first, and then we're going to draw some side boxes. Now those side boxes are not the first thing we're going to talk about. In the center column, we're going to first list our date, our real world date. And the reason we do this is because it's going to make organizing it much simpler going forward. If we have those, we can put them in a stack and quickly flip through them. We can see which cards came from which sessions, and we can go back in time to look at whatever's happened in the past. If we have a question come up about, oh, how long ago did we meet so-and-so, or what happened 2 weeks ago, I missed session. This is how you're going to be able to flip back to that to reference it easily. If you're running multiple groups like I do, I write my group name next because that makes it really easy to know which group I'm talking about for that date. In case my cards get shuffled up on my desk somehow, I can easily sort them back out, no problem. Other information I like to include here is the starting game date. So if you have a custom calendar or you're using a pre-generated calendar or something like that, you can use this. You can write here. Also important information is the starting location so that you know where the party is when they start. If they're in town, they're at the tavern, they're in the middle of a dungeon, you can write that here, and that makes it easy for you to get your frame of reference when you're running session. And I usually fill this out before session, I should say. Starting time, that's your starting time in game, not your real world time. If you need to write that down, you could put that down here as well. And if you want to have a name for your session, like Descent into Darkness or something like that for a session, then you could put that on there if that helps. Or you could put an adventure name if you're running a pre-generated module, something like that. Now, these these side boxes, there's 6 of them here. You can usually squeeze in a few extras if you wanted to. This is pretty close to the adventuring day as suggested for 5th edition, but it's not necessarily going to work out that way. What these are used for is they are, we're going to use them to track increments of time that are appropriate to the session. So if we're talking days or hours or even minutes, we can track these here depending on what we need to do. Whatever is best for what you're doing for your session, for your game, this is how you're going to track it. Now, I just put encounter information here as a placeholder text, and I put some resting periods as well to track where you can put those rests. So you can put those there, or you can squeeze them into the margins in the center area if that's more helpful. Again, this is to help you track time. It also lets you track how many encounters they go through before they need a rest. This is useful for you later on in reviewing your notes if you're thinking, maybe they're taking too many short rests, or man, they don't seem to really need short rests as many long rests for this group or whatever. It's useful for metadata for yourself. So we have framing the session in the center. We have our encounters / tracking of player activity in these side categories. And this last box on the bottom is where we're going to put our loot notes and our final XP for session if we're going to do that, or milestones, whatever you're using to track anything you're tracking for player gains or losses, you're going to put it in this bottom U. That gives you a little more space, and you can spread it out according to these different encounters. That way you don't have to worry about, oh, they got a +1 sword in their first encounter, and they found a potion here, and then they used that potion in the third one. Just put it in the bottom section here. This makes it so you can track all that sort of information really easily and fast, and you can look at it broken up from the encounters later on. So at the end of session, I'll just look at my encounter information. I'll be like, all right, we had 6 goblins, a giant, and a troll, and they took a short rest at the end of the section. At the end of the third encounter, we traveled for 6 hours here. They saw some birds in the distance, and we didn't get any more XP. So then I'll add up all the XP from those 3 first encounters, add it up in the box, break it up by player, and say, all right, XP for the session per player is ... 540 points, whatever it is. This makes it so that way if somebody asks me, hey, how much XP did we get last week, I can tell them, you got 540 experience last week. It's right there on the bottom of the card. It makes it really, really easy to find. Now the back of the card is perfect for notes for going forward for yourself or for edits to encounters. Anything you're going to try to remember or plan for your next session, or if you have an idea in the middle of the game that you're like, oh, I need to write this down for next week or 10 weeks from now, whatever you're going to do, this is where you're going to put that note down so you have it going forward. You can just some suggestions, notes for planning your next game session. If you have NPCs in your session that come up that are affected by the player's actions or killed, or maybe are made friendly by something your players did, you can put this here. If you felt like a tactic that you used with a monster was not effective or was exceptionally effective, make notes on that. And same thing goes for if you had an unusual number of crits or misses. Like for some reason, you as the dungeon master couldn't roll above a 5, whatever it is, and your players just weren't challenged. You'll know, hey, they didn't take any short rests because I didn't get any hits on them. Or if you got a lot of hits on them, like, hey, I was really hot that day, I couldn't roll below a 16. You can note that and you'll be like, oh, that makes sense why they had so many short rests. So in case you're trying to adjust your content or encounters and stuff like that on the fly, it's useful for that. And again, if you have something you're like, oh man, I really wanted to remember to add an NPC that does ... magic items or a smith, this is where you can put those notes, and at the end of the session, you're probably going to be tired, you're going to be thinking about other things, you might have other things you have to do. You can come back and review these notes on the back. That's going to be helpful for you going forward, so you're like, oh yeah, I checked my notes, cool. And then I usually review these before the next session, and I've used my encounter time to track how much time has passed in game. So between those two things, I'll know exactly what my starting location and time is for my next session, and I can write that card out a few minutes before the next session. I'll review my notes. I'll be like, oh yeah, I remember they fought those trolls, or they fought the giant and the troll and those goblins. Yeah, those were easy. And they ended with a long rest. So they're all going to have all their resources and they're going to be ready to go right as soon as we start. So that's the idea. Let me know what you have. Let me know if you have any thoughts about this system. If there's something that you think could be improved, I'd love to see it in the comments below. Otherwise, stay strong, Game Masters. Have fun.
Thank you for watching, everyone. I appreciate your time and your consideration. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to comment down below. And until next time, this is the Nerdtastic Pirate signing off.